So I'll give it a table, for example. Remember that before I start my Copilot, I'm supposed to have my autosave on. And this particular file should be on my OneDrive, for example. It is right now on OneDrive. It is right now on OneDrive, available over there. A single cell selection is a good story for Excel for all these features available there, including Copilot. So if I go and click a cell over here, it knows that I'm talking about the data over here. If I go here and say that, okay, fine. Please, it's good to be courteous. So I always write a please or a hello in front of any of the AI tools, for example. Okay, so please separate the data from variant column. I can write D because there are 2-3 variants over here. It should not get confused. So in case I'm trying for the first time, I don't know these options, for example, in Excel. I'm trying for the first time. Can Copilot help me in getting the answer for that? Yeah. So you can try this over here. Please separate the data from variant column D using hyphen as the separator. That's a copy and doing. Control C, enter. It's trying to examine the data. It does take little time, but not very much. At least the time you struggle to find what is the actual formula, it finished by that time and give you the answer available there. So it's only giving me a replacement available here, D5 to D24. Oh, it's not able to understand the question correctly. So let's clear that over here. Please separate the data from variants to variant column using hyphen and separator to create samples like coffee, tea, and bits. So we have to give someone. If you go for Copilot creating a video or of the picture, it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that. But try that over here. Apply. It's creating that over here as a difference over here. It says, okay, you can try the variant type available like that and use some kind of a function available there. So does it have a function here? No, it doesn't have. It's created a variant name based on mine. I wish I didn't have these options available there. Had to done something here. No, not really. So these columns, I can say, okay, fine, let's make it 20. That's wide enough. And if we separate the data in that case and give you the data available like that, let's clear this now. And the control minus is basically shift cells left and right. It's a very good option in case I don't have to work with my data. In case I don't have to delete my column, for example, I can press control minus, see the column, enter, the entire data will shift on the left side. I've got the date available here. I'll try this tested out Copilot here. I'll open that here and pick up this as my prompt here. Click this then. It's still taken that again because last action was taken. I could have undone here. We can do undo also here. So let me first go back and try to. It's taken the last action from my last Copilot action that I had taken before the open Copilot here. So I'll go here. Since my Copilot is open now, I did not redo that. I'll go here and apply another prompt here. So just a formula to create a formatted date as 11 January 2024 from column E. Is column E containing a date? Yeah, it is. So let's say just a formula. Okay, fine. So what is the formula can give me in that case to give me the formatted date available there? I can have weekday, I can have month. Okay, it's done that. So that's a formula copy I can do and kind of place it over here. Control V, it gives me the right answer. Can you see that? So that becomes the right answer here. Double click and I get all the answers correct in that case. That's where Copilot supports me. So it might not support someday, but subsequently when we say, okay, fine, this is a good answer, for example, it will store the intelligence in its system. And next time when the support comes in, for example, for this call, for example, it will be able to promptly answer the call in that case. So we're supposed to support Copilot by saying, okay, fine, you've done a good job. So it keeps that in the system, for example, and recalls it whenever the new user comes in with the same requirement again, for example. That helps a lot in that case. That's quite a wide one. We can really go here and say, okay, fine. I like to have it because I know that very well. So I say Alt O C W. It should be like 12. Number should be 12 always. It's absolutely fine. Can you see that? Consistent width available there? Because I know that that thing works. So I can really leverage that. That's a Copilot answer for me for the formatted table. Alt OCA is column autofit. Options, column autofit. Options 4. Column autofit CA. Column width was W. Column autofit is A. That's what we find. So that's what it does in this case. So I can right here can explain how this formula works. It explains to the formula here, for example. And if that is not enough for you, you're learning something very new, for example, it explains the entire formula. I guess it's quite easy to understand that. I can even write, for example, please explain how offset function works with one example. So it goes to find offset in the library. I've asked it a number of times, so it gives me the entire answer over here. What are the parameters about? What would they mean? So I can go to the help. I can go to Google and try to find the help. I'll find various sites doing very good job and explaining very good examples over there. But I've got the right over here in my Copilot, and I can just write anything over here. Easily gives me the answer of everything. So that's the answer available there. Tell me unique variants with name and count of each. This is like a pivot table only, like a group option, for example. So I can say, so I'll pick up some more, for example, the examples in Excel also, so that we have a appetite for Copilot as well as Excel as we see in the forum. Let's see the best part over here. So unique variants, if you pick up a small table and draw that over here, that's nice. So variant name and the variant over here that we can see in this kit, there's a count available. If I want to add to the new sheet, I can do that over here. There we are. That's what is the pivot table about, for example, in this case. So rename is quite important. So variant count Copilot. Perfect. It's a good idea to rename that. How do I rename that so fast and easy? I've got this option as rename. And that, if you notice, is number 09 for me. Alt and C09 over here. So what did I do over here? I just pressed Alt and 09 there together, and I got my rename available there. It was easy for me. Like that. So this becomes fairly easy. I can hold the control key. I can hold the control key and click on the left arrow to go to the leftmost sheet in the Excel file. It will not select the sheet, but it will move to that area and show me what are the sheets available there. I can then click on that sheet to open that sheet. If I know the sheet name from here, for example, I can then right-click on this arrow here and go to the sheet I can go to, for example, and click on this to find my data there. That's what I can do. It goes directly to that sheet in this case. I'm here right now. I was here somewhere, for example. If I right-click over here and go to IFS, I can double-click that as well, or click that and click OK, and that goes right over here. That's what gives me the idea about navigating through sheets. In the latest version on 365, we got the pure navigation available, very smart feature there. So once you're more familiar with the spreadsheet, the file that you work with, you can really see these are the sheet names available there. And that's the sheet I'm working in right now. Suppose I have to go to that one. I know that, okay, I created somewhere to the end over here. I can click on that and jump directly over here, and that takes me over here. I can click and jump directly over here, and that takes me. Where is that available, by the way? It's available in the View tab. In the View tab, Navigate is the option. Navigation is the option. That's what I can see. These are the support options available in Excel to navigate through the sheets, for example. Going to the bottom, if I try, for example, Alt equal to here, Alt equal to here, I get the sum of the entire column like that. And I can select across like that and try Alt equal to combined, for example. Alt equal to here, I get the combined over here, and the bottom applied instantly. That matter. So Alt equal to is the option for getting the instant answer available, auto sum available here. That's a macro running now, alt equal to. That's auto sum, alt equal to available over here, instant sum available here. So that's about getting the data here, for example, on the given sheet. Going further, for example, if I try to work with, we saw the unique names available, that made a pivot table over there. Let's try to work on some deeper Excel, for example. So if I work on the if statement, for example, over here, on the given data, I can try to work on the if statement here. I want to insert a column here, for example. Insert a column here. The column will take the format of the previous column also. Had there been some data available here, I could have done. Have you seen this function here? In fact, I have to display the function also, because what happened to the functions I made here? It was deleted by Control Z. Actually, I deleted some columns here because of that. But deleted. Let me change the functions over here. So it says formula text over here. This one, and this formula text here. This one, and this one is a formula text here. That's what gives me the display available. That's too wide. I can make it like short. It's like 30, 15. That's okay. Yeah. If statement on the data here. So if I try, for example, the data, which is, I'm going for a very simple if statement, I'll go for the complex after this. And the complex part which I'll create after this will be fairly complex. The idea is to see how the if statement works. We also work on the date function over there. And I'll today tell you, how can you not make a mistake on the date, for example, because dates across the world are quite...
Hey, you know, ZaranTech now offers SAP corporate training. That's right. Train your workforce in SAP with our comprehensive program. We offer customized courses, certified trainers, and hands-on labs for both individuals and businesses. Our standout features? Bespoke training, fully configured servers for practice, in-house materials, and a dedicated LMS. Plus, get session recordings and 24/7 support. From functional to technical modules, we have got it all. Choose ZaranTech for SAP training and watch your team excel. Learn, upskill, succeed with ZaranTech.
So discuss on the date function also. I'll tell you, for example, what is the best way you cannot make mistakes in date function, for example. We'll see that shortly. But right now, the basic statement, for example, for the people who are, I would say, fairly comfortable in Excel, but then a quick recall will help us over here. If you work on any function, for example, new function, for example, the best method to learn is write the parameters there and understand if I know these parameters well or not. What is the meaning of condition? What is the meaning of then value? What is the meaning of else value? I must know these answers over here. So in this case, if I try this over here, equal to I, the list appears like that, for example. I can go to any function, for example. Ever since I've known that when I press a tab key, the function opens and the close opening bracket appears automatically. I never have opened the bracket manually myself. 99% cases, I press a tab key here and open the bracket automatically. If I have a VLOOKUP here, for example, tab key here, I've got a bracket open automatically. Let me tell you, VLOOKUP will do. But then VLOOKUP has got 5 different ways. Majorly 4 ways available. 5th way is a copycat of another one. But 4 major ways available how we can attempt on VLOOKUP. I'm not saying situations. Situations can be millions. I would say 4 different ways. We'll not be covering all 4 ways that were there. But the most important ways I'll be covering a good exploration of the VLOOKUP. Going back to if statement. For example, I get a list available there. I can go to tab and open the bracket automatically. So I don't have to open the bracket manually. It saves a little time. Yeah. First part is the logical test over here, which is this one, for example. So I can go here and say, if my data is, for example, more than equal to 50,000, for example. Now, please understand this point very carefully. Frankly speaking, I have the opportunity to work with a lot of companies around the world, because of which I've got a lot of learning from there, how they work, for example. That enhances my learning to give you the idea about how Excel or other areas can help us. Excel, Power BI, PowerPoint, for example. Okay, so when I go here, for example, I say a condition to be mentioned starting from a range. Remember that number series start from 0 to 9. It's not 1 to 10. All of us know that very well. Base number system is 0 to 9. Every series will start from 0 only. 50,000, 60,000, 70,000, 10,000, 100, 5,000, and so on. The important part is if I don't give this equal to here and give it only by saying, if H5 more than 50,000, I leave a guesswork to the user who has to now calculate that what is the value I'm talking about. And we're talking about 50,001 or 51,000. There are some guesses to be made. So let's not leave people to guess things over there. If I can convey my right message there. So it's a good idea rather than writing more than, you write more than equal to. Because that says I'm starting from 50,000. The number I see is the number which is starting the series. That's more relevant and that's more communicative also. Numbers communicate high values and high meanings. It just matters by replacing a zero. We know that very well. Likewise, a number starting from a series will make more sense rather than calculating later. It start from 1 or 100 or 1,000. I don't know. So it's a good idea to give an equal to sign, indicating that my series starts from here. Okay, that's the condition part, logical test over here. So I can move my help around, for example, in case it is overlapping the data over here. I can go to 4 arrows. If I go here, it shows me the current argument. But if I go here, I can have the display available for my help available, so I can move it around so it doesn't overlap my data. The first part of the condition, for example, comma, the next part is the logical value, which is true, for example, then value. If my condition is correct, what is it that I want as my answer? I want good as my answer here. The space after the comma is not necessary, only for the training purpose I'm doing that. It's more clear. In fact, in my consultation also, when I provide consulting to other companies, I have a comma and a space because when they read it, it should be clear. It should be clear every time, in fact. Then I say a double quotes. Okay, in that case, I've got one more clue for you. In case you have to write double quotes, I'm coming back to this function shortly. When I go to a cell and I write, for example, James over here, I write J over here, I write not over here, I write 500 here, I write my date here, I write 50% over here. I never did write the double quotes here, did I? I never. So when you work on the data set after the equal to sign, and you're writing the absolute text value, that is the only time we require double quotes in Excel. We do not require double quotes in Excel ever in the cell. I'm writing this without double quotes, this without double quotes, this without double quotes over here. Whenever I go to the data, which is a text value after the equal to sign, then I need to apply double quotes for the absolute text value. Otherwise, double quotes is never required in Excel. Be very sure and be very clear, no doubts about it. Coming back to our if statement, I'm saying that if my correction over here says that my data is beyond 50K, for example, then give me quote, else give me okay, that's fine. Very simple. Double click okay, that's fine. Alt 8 and the borders are applied. So far, so good. It's quite simple. We go here. Settle with that. The important part is here. If I apply the date feature here, that's the important part. I hope this is fine with all of you. This is quite okay, quite simple. Condition is there. If my condition is correct, then value is there. If it is not correct, else value is there. So if I go here, for example, please understand, whenever, I know you might not have to work in Python or Oracle, for example, that's okay. But all these applications which work in the if statement work exactly the way I'm telling you now. So whenever condition match is found, for example, over here, as soon as the match is found over here, for example, in case the match is correct, it goes for then value if the match is correct. In case it is not correct, it goes to else value if it is not correct. And the point is, this point is important to remember. As soon as the match is found, it does not examine the balance. It goes out immediately after writing the right answer. Whatever is the right answer, this or this, it goes out immediately. Only in case my match is not found, it examines the other parts over here. Suppose I've got 9 if statements over here. It will not go to online. As soon as the match is found somewhere, you just stop and write the answer over there and quit immediately over there. This part is fairly important. As we go to the next part further, for example, it will become fairly important. I'll tell you why this is important now also, later also. So in case your friend, some cousins, some children in the family, they go and find that if statement quite intriguing over there, one can always comment on that. You know Oracle, doesn't know Oracle, doesn't matter. But I know how if statement works. Everywhere in Oracle, Python, SQL, Excel, Access, everywhere. It works like this. The match is found, it goes out immediately. It doesn't examine the balance. It works like that. Nothing to worry on that. That's the way if statement works. Now, this part is very important, and this part comprises of three major areas. Three major areas in this case. When we go here, for example, we talk about different areas for the dollar sign, for the date, and for the percentage. So let's talk about these things importantly over here. Now, this concept, if I talk to Copilot, will I get the answer over here? Let me see. We'll go for Alt and 3, I get Copilot assembly. When should we apply dollar sign in the cell or range? It will not give me the communication that I can have with humans. It will give me the machine communication. And earlier it used to give, I can't explain this right now. And now it is such a big thing. So when you're confused about this, please go to Copilot and try to get this over here. Google will also give you this answer because this is right from Microsoft. So I'll tell you what is the reference over here. I'll explain that right now. But this will give you some guidance at least, some backup on the learning that you've done somewhere, or you've gathered some collection of the information from some bits here and some bits there and got some perception. Okay, that's the way I understand how dollar sign works. And when you come back over here, you will see that it gives you a good answer available there. So it's a kind of a good support available. It's my Excel teacher. It's my Word teacher. It's my PPT teacher also. Yeah, it is. It gives me these answers over here pretty well. But now let's go to this Excel teacher and see how can we and see how does it really work. So let me explain this part. This can be quite important for all of us. If you've got a spreadsheet available, if this sheet is not, it doesn't matter. Please go to a spreadsheet and try to see, for example, if I go to, for example, equal to D5, I'm not pressing enter. I'm just writing this and holding it over here. The default reference in this part is explained over here. Pointers are given over here. How do they work? Relative reference to the default one, absolutely different. This is a copy I got here also. Okay, so that's taken D5 as an answer. I'm not using that. I'm just writing D5 over here. Let me explain you. When you go for the keyboard here, for example, sometimes you'll not see the function keys active in that case. You might try function key over here and try function key F4. I'm talking about F4 over here. And what happens if you see F4 over here? See, first, both locks. Second, row lock, and so on. So let's come back to direct example. When I said D5 here, for example, please follow me. And in case you've got the spreadsheet available, please try this. It's going to be quite helpful. Now, when I go for D5, for example, any cell for that matter, remember that when I press function key F4, either it should be Fn F4 or it should be F4, for example. When I press for the first time, for example, before the first time it is not locked. This is called relative reference. This is called relative reference. RELATIVE, relative reference. Okay. But when I press function key for the first time, it's called absolute reference over here. That's a both lock. Why both lock? D is locked as a column. 5 is locked as a row. It's a both lock. This is absolute lock. If I press F4 second time, for example, I get a row lock in this case. We say lock. You can say anything. We can say static, we can say freeze, we can say lock, we can say absolute. But lock is quite an easy term, I would say that. It's completely your choice. So let's say lock for the time being. F4 second time, for example, can give me a $5. D does not have a dollar before, but 5 was a dollar before. So it's a row lock because it's a number lock that is there. What does that mean? We'll discuss that shortly. Another F4 takes me to, for example, the third lock, which is a column lock in this case. or $D5, which means basically a column lock over here, but not the row lock in this case. That's what we can see in this case. And another F4 takes me back to D5 again. So basically, pressing function key F4 cycles from no lock to no lock. It cycles from no lock to no lock. So I can choose what lock I want to apply. This part is fairly easy to understand. But the problem is, when I go to a situation which tells me I probably need a lock over here, what is the lock I should apply there? That is the point. And for that, there's a small queue available over here. Forget this description here. You might get confused. I might get confused if I see simple copy over there. So delete that over here. We just have the example over there. The principles are like these. Understand this concept again. I've got my table available here, for example. There are some exceptions. This can be slightly confusing. Be careful on this, please. So as we talk about an extended VLOOKUP, I'll give you all sorts of logs available there. And that's a very smart and a dynamic VLOOKUP. You really enjoy that. Some of you might know that already, but then it's quite a treat available as far as the VLOOKUP is concerned. Back to our log, for example. If I have a table available here, and I add up a column here, for example, often we go to a new column and refer to a cell in the table and come back to the column and drag it down. What happens normally in that case is this column refers to a cell over here, and as I go down, this refers to a cell next row. As I go down, it refers to a cell next row over here, and so on, because that is a relative reference. Remember, in this function, and most of the functions like that, we refer to a table here with a single cell reference. There are two references available always. One is a single cell reference, one is a range. The reference of a cell is two types. One is a single cell reference, one is a range. When you talk about a single reference, for example, there are two rules that are to be applied. Number one, when I work on a table available with, and I attach a column to the table to the right side, for example, then I refer to a cell inside the table, a single cell inside the table. I should not apply the lock. That's the first one. Single cell inside the table, no lock required. If I have a table reference, I create a column over here, and a single cell is somewhere outside the table like that, I must apply both locks. This will be quite big right now, but I'll recall everything again. But right now I'm concentrating on the most important examples over here. I'll give the input on the other principles also, which are all mentioned over here. But I'll work on the major principles and I'll work on all principles. Right now, if I have a table here, a column here, and a single cell outside the table, I must apply both locks here. So range.
What sets ZaranTech apart in SAP corporate training? It's our unique blend of expertise and innovation. We offer customized courses tailored to each client's needs, ensuring relevant, targeted learning. Our vast trainer database brings you wisdom from the best in the field. Need resources? Access our extensive training material repository anytime. We are all about measurable results, providing detailed student metrics to track progress. And we don't just teach, we build community. Join our thriving social media network, connecting learners beyond boundaries. With ZaranTech, you are not just training, you are transforming your SAP expertise.
And single cell, they use both locks. Range and single cell, they use both locks.
I have a question for you. So you're showing us the principles of this, right? And I'm following you. Are we going to see an application relative to what you're showing us? Is that what you're going to do? Show the application?
Some part I'll cover. So we have a connection here. We can see how it works right now. And some part I'll show so it is not mixed up. It's not loaded.
Trying to understand, and I'm following you, but what I'm always looking at is what is the objective that you're trying to show as far as efficiency and more knowledge. So when you do explain or do show an example, understand how. That's all. I'm just looking.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely. Example follows shortly.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So if I work on the table here and a column here, and I choose a cell inside the table, for example, no lock. If I work on the table here, a column here, a cell outside the table, both lock. If I work on a column with a new formula and that contains a range, for example, it has to be both locks always. Array is there, I have to have a both lock available over there always. But if I go to single cell, which contains column-wise data and single cell row-wise data, my objective in this case is, for example, that in case people have done this, say, with my company up to the year 21, for example, up to the year 21, for example, or let's say 31st December 2020. I can work on year also, but I want to work on actual date to show you how date works. So I want to compare the data in this case, that in case in this record, I find any date lower than 2020, including entire year of 2020. So 2019, 2020, all discovered over here. Then I get 20% discount for these people over here. Others who've done the billing in my company, for example, after 2020, they get 10% discount over here. I want to create a list of 20% and 10% over here. I learned three things in this case. Number one, how do I compare the date? Number two, how to, otherwise when to apply $sign. Number three, how to change number to percent. And we learn the reverse as a small benefit further. Now, my objective in this case is to find out the people who have done the billing on my company, for example, up to 2020, they should be getting 20% discount in the future billings. And the people who've done the billing on my company after 2020, for example, it should be given 10% discount. I'm not calculating the discount, I'm displaying the caption 20%, 10% over there. Before I go to this particular number 3 over here, I must tell you something more. When we work in the data in Excel, for example, we work in the data of two types. For example, Excel works on two types of data. One is a text, one is a number. Text contains, for example, text as well as alphanumeric values. Text contains text or alphanumeric. Text is basically alpha only. Number contains a whole number, then the decimal. And these things change, you know that very well. These things change. And then the currency. Currency changes. So if I have same value, 50 as yen, 50 as dollar, 50 as rupees, it's a different answer. That's why the numbers are displayed differently. If I say a date here, if I say a percent here, some people write percent as two words. Normally it's taken as one word only, but two words also work. It's a good idea if you follow one word only for percent. We get the answers available like that. Okay. Now what happens is when the application Excel tries to negotiate a function which contains multiple types of the data available there, it might not be able to answer the percentage in the form of percentage, the date in the form of a date. It might not give you the answer directly the way you want it, for example. In that case, it might give you the decimal answer because it has to convert the percent to a simple whole number. That's the base of every number. Base of decimal is a whole number. Base of currency is a number. Base of date is a number. Base of percent is a number only. That is why it shows like a number. So in that situation, what do we do? We work with these answers, for example. Suppose I have to convert a number to percent. I can use, for example, Control, Shift, and percent. I've given these options over here in the shortcuts over here. I've given these shortcuts over here. And suppose I have to convert a number to a date, for example. I might go to Home tab, General, Short Date, or if I try number to date, for example, I might try Format Cells, for example. That can be Control 1. On the other hand, if I change the percent to number, for example, I will like to apply. I'll not complete the entire list over here, but the most important ones I'm writing over here. which will be used shortly. So returning back to this later, let's see some answers over here. If, for example, I say that my date is less than equal to 31-12-20, I cannot say this in Excel. I cannot compare the rate like that in Excel. It is not possible. It is not allowed, because this will calculate it like -1. 31 minus 12 is 19, minus 20 is -1. So it calculates that. If I try dash over here or slash over here, it start to subtract and divide over there. So it will not work like a date. Although it looks like a date, but it works like an arithmetic operation, for example. So I cannot do that. I can go to a cell that contains a date like this. I copied that just now when I was writing the function. So I can make it appear like this. If, for example, I work on a date over here, I will say less than equal to this date. I know that I can compare with the year also, but I want to show how the date works. Otherwise, with the year, it's quite simple. I can compare the year only and work with that. But I'm trying to see how the date works. So in Excel, we cannot compare the date in the absolute form. In Excel, I have to compare the rate from cell to cell always. That's important to realize. Because I'm referring to a single cell in the table, I'm not locking that over here like I did not lock here, and here I did not lock here. I did not lock here. But here when I go, in this case, outside the reference over here, I need to lock it by pressing function key F4. Because if I don't lock it, like E5 will become E6 over here. Likewise, L1 will become L2 over here, which is not right. I want to compare the entire column with a standard value over here. I wish to compare entire column with a standard value over here, a fixed value here. That's what we can do. So that makes a more sense, better sense in that case. 20%, for example, over here. And then 10% over here. And that is what I'm trying to achieve. Two things are covered so far. Number one, the dollar sign. Number two, how to compare dates in Excel. I cannot compare absolute date in Excel as far as the spreadsheet is concerned. In condition formatting, I can write absolute date. But in the spreadsheet, I cannot compare absolute date. I have to compare cell to cell. Number two, if I have a cell outside the table, for example, we have a reason to say that L1 should be locked over here, because if I copy that dot, L1 should not become L2. Of course, I can apply row lock also in this case, but because the first block includes the row lock also, so I can settle with that. The other part is 20% and 10%. Because it is negotiating these dates over here and the percentage over here, so it might not result into 20% answer. It gives you 0.1 and 0.2 thereafter, which I need to convert using this option, number to percent, or I can go here, hold that, apply percent over here, and the shortcut is the same I told you. Apply this now, and that makes a better sense. So this gives me a good idea about my 3 points over here. Compare date correctly, when to apply dollar sign, and how to change number to percent. Function F4, it's like this, for example, when you see here, for example, in case F4 is not the active key, you can press function and you'll find F4 over there.
Okay.
Not this keyboard, your keyboard, in fact.
Yeah, my keyboard. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sure.
Thank you.
So let me tell you something important over here regarding the keyboards. If I'm going to captures over there, so I've got my keyboard with the F1 sign, and there's a speaker sign over here indicating cross in that case. Then I've got the F2 sign, and that's a volume lower. Then F3 sign, volume increase, brightness control, and so on. Let me explain you something very important over here. When you buy a laptop, for example, professionally we to work on the laptops, in and out, home and office, both places. So try to buy the laptop which has function keys as the primary keys. When you see a laptop, for example, the function key will show like white and big over there. In case the function keys are colored or small over there, then the multimedia keys are the primary keys. What happens internally is this, that in case my function key is not a primary key, but the multimedia key is a primary key, I then have to press Fn key to activate my function key over there. In case my function key is the primary key, I don't have to use Fn key. I can directly work with Control F1 for the run back, for example, or simple F4, directly F4 for that matter. In that case, I can work with that. So that will help us. But in case we bought a different laptop and we can't help it, now what do I do? in those cases, you might also have the escape key with the padlock sign over there, the lock sign over there. In case that contains a lock sign, then luckily you can try FN key with the padlock sign over here once only. Nothing will happen on the keyboard, but the activity will change here. The primary key will be the function key, and the secondary will be the multimedia key. If it's confusing, you can talk to me again later. I'll discuss that subsequently. But the point is, in case your function key is not a direct key there, use FN key with the function key. If it is direct, very good. If you got the escape key or the shift key with the padlock sign, then function and shift or function and escape can reverse the operation in that case, and you can make one as primary key. Any questions? That's what goes about this.
Just one question. So to activate that lock sign on the escape key,
If that is visible to you,
yeah.
then function, then function and escape will reverse the activity of the function keys. In case your activity in the function key is multimedia with the direct function key, then that means your multimedia is primary. Then we can reverse it by using function key and the escape key. You will not see anything happening on the keyboard, on the screen rather. But when you try next time, immediately after that, you will see function key becomes the active key. Multimedia is to be now done with function and multimedia, and that is what we need normally. I don't want my music control or my brightness control every time as a default one. I can use FN key with the music control in that case.
Okay.
That's the way it works. Yeah. Okay, that might be slightly confusing, but then that's the way it works because I can't see hardware anybody's laptop right now. But that's the way it goes.